Myth, mistake, mishap, misconception, muddled memoirs, messed up memories, mullish men misled by misinformation, mindlessly modified moot points mentioned in meretricious manner by mass media to manipulate the myopic among us and make money. Whatever you call it, the general rule of thumb is, the longer and higher your level of success has been, the more of these will surround your existence. Especially if you're someone who gets paid to kick a ball around and has the articulate capabilities of a dog trying to communicate he's hungry over his owner's baby crying for the same fucking reason. But you know what? The kind, generous, and extremely articulate person that I am, I'll do the due diligence and debunk these for them. And while I've done this individually for each of these two modern day GOATs, here are 7 myths about the Messi and Ronaldo rivalry finally debunked. Let's roll on. Number 7, the Origins doubleheader. So to prove my dedication to content creation as well as my love for both of my fans, we are going to begin with a 2-in-1, because you see my friends, while both of these gentlemen's humble beginnings have been well documented by now, there are still a couple of myths that float about regarding those days to this day. For example, Messi apparently idolized Maradona growing up. No, he was compared to Maradona growing up. Cause as anyone who closely looks at the age difference between the two will quickly realize, by the time Messi began watching football, Maradona was doing less of this and more of this. So, while he was told stories about his fellow diminutive South American magician like every Argentinian kid born in, around and after 1986 was, Messi's actual idols growing up were Ronaldo in terms of strikers, and most of all, his former RB Celeste teammate Pablo Aimar. Well, there's one to tell the grandkids, eh? But here's the thing though, as unexpected as that was, at least he did have footballing idols. Cause this bloke on the other hand, okay, fanboys, sit down, breathe in, hold your jaws. Cristiano Ronaldo did not grow up a football fan. It's true. You see, CR7's father was the kitman of his local club and arena, and naturally when Cristiano was old enough, his father encouraged him to start playing, and while he did fall in love with the game from there mainly because of how good he was, he certainly did not grow up watching it. As a matter of fact, you know what the very first UCL final he saw was? AC Milan versus Juventus at Old Trafford, which took place less than 3 months before he himself made his way to Old Trafford. And on top of that, Ronaldo has said in multiple interviews that he had no real idol in the game, bar himself of course, and he doesn't usually watch it when he's not in it. Guess you can call him the Portuguese Ben White. Please don't. Number 6, Clasico parallel. Ronaldo is the greatest big game player of all time, and that certainly is not a myth. He has an insanely good record in Clásicos. Also not a myth. He went head to head with Messi in Clásicos. Also not a myth. In the literal sense, because while they did face off multiple times as the guy of their respective sides, their overall head-to-head record is honestly pretty one-sided. So Messi and Ronaldo have faced off in 30 Clásicos. Of the 30, there have been 8 draws, 8 wins for Ronaldo, and 14 for Messi. That's almost twice as many. And that is not even the end of it, because furthermore, in those 30 games, Messi's side scored a total of 59 goals, while Ronaldo's only managed 43. And while their individual goal tallies are similar enough, when you combine that with assists like you idiots do nowadays, it shows that even individually Messi was clearly ahead in those games. Now of course, when you add context in all this, it flips like a father mucker. But for what it seems on the surface, that ain't head to head, mate. That's more like head to chest. But staying on Clásicos for a bit, number 5, my home, your stage. Okay, so this is a bit of a cheat, because instead of debunking a myth, I actually have something that may support another myth, which I'm actually going to debunk later on this very list. And if you have complaints about that, just remember, it's healthy to cheat sometimes. So as you all know, the popular narrative out there is that Ronaldo is an arrogant show-off who's full of himself, while Messi is a timid individual who prefers to be in his comfort zone. And while I do think this is a tad BS, here's an odd little statistic that may actually back up this claim. A statistic that concerns dribbling. Now don't worry, I won't compare these guys' average take-ons. Ronaldo has a family. But instead, check this out. In the 20 Clasicos these two faced off against each other in La Liga and UCL, Messi in total has dribbled past 11 more players when playing at home than he did on the road over in Madrid. In contrast, Ronaldo is quite the contrast, because you see, in those exact 20 games, CR7 completed a total of 6 more take-ons when he was getting booed by 98,000 people inside the Camp Nou than getting cheered by 80,000 under the bright lights of the Bernabeu. Guess it is true what they say. Your love makes me strong, your hate makes me unstoppable. Number 4, the international myth. So while I'm recording this, I haven't actually decided on the exact wording of the title of this video, but if it's anything along the lines of myths you believe, then I do sincerely apologize, because clearly I do not have a high opinion of you. Because yes, this is only really believed by those who are stupid beyond belief. So ever since Messi won the World Cup, his fanboys have actually began to spin the narrative and say that these guys' international careers do not compare. Okay, let's do some examination. So if you look at the overall international statistics, you'd see that it's more than comparable, with Ronaldo actually scoring at a faster rate. But obviously that's very broad. So let's look at competitive games. And well, Ronaldo actually takes a bigger lead here. Almost half of Messi's goals came in friendly matches. Now, if you then wish to narrow that down even more to just major tournaments, you'll see that, again, their continental statistics are also pretty comparable. But then, if you move to the World Cup, this is where the noticeable difference lies. But here's the thing people are forgetting. Even this was very comparable just a few mere months ago. Because you see that knockout stages goals shit you clowns are now obsessed with. Before his strike against the mighty Australia, as well as the 3 other penalties his teammates won for him, Messi also had never scored in the knockout stages. And now what? One tournament makes the narrative flip on his head? Well, maybe inside your head, kid, because in the real world, that's not how it works. I mean, don't get me wrong, as I said before, Messi winning the World Cup certainly now for me means that he's had the better international career. The World Cup is the biggest prize of all. But when you couple that with the one thing that Messi fans deeply despise, context, there is no way in hell that one trophy aided by a handful of questionable decisions would change years and years of an alternate narrative. So yeah, once again, while Messi has certainly had the better international career, when you do add certain context, such as the positions they played in and quality of players, Ronaldo was quite clearly the better player. Also, sidebar, here's a fun fact for you. Of Ronaldo's 123 international goals, 14.6% have come from the penalty spot, whereas out of Messi's 103, 23.3% have come from the penalty spot. That's not only almost a tenth more than Ronaldo, it's more than a fifth of his goals for Argentina. Well, if you're one of those half-lives who uses terms like penaldo, I hope this puts things into perspective for you. If not, then worry not, cause number 3, the truth about penalties. So since around the beginning of 2015, there's been somewhat of a popular take among, again, idiots, that Ronaldo's goal scoring is helped a lot due to him taking a lot more penalties. Now, while it's true that Ronaldo does try to win more penalties, he actually doesn't take a whole lot more. Cause as of recording, CR7 has taken 181 penalties in 1,168 games. That's an average of 1 penalty every 6.45 games. Corrected 2 decimal places. On the other hand, his Argentinian adversary has taken 139 penalties in 1,028 games, which is an average of 1 penalty every 7.4 games. also corrected 2 decimal places. That's not even a full game more than Ronaldo. I mean, granted, Ronaldo has converted a higher percentage of those spot kicks, but that ain't a he problem. That's a you problem, my guy. Well, it was until the Qatari officials allowed you so much practice. Banter! Number 2, age parallels. So much like the Clasico myth, this also partly derives from the fact that the pair played for arch rivals in the same country at the same time. Because you see, most people tend to think of these two legends' careers as being those of parallel dominance, where they went toe to toe for the biggest accolades, both individual and collective. And while that may have some accuracy when you view it in real time, if you observe their career trajectory in terms of the age they were at, boy is it drastically different. Case in point, when Lionel Messi was 21 years of age, not only did he already have 3 league titles to his name, but also won the treble with Barcelona that very season. In contrast, when Ronaldo was 21, his biggest achievement was scoring against Millwall in the FA Cup final. When Messi was 28, he won his 5th Ballon d'Or, had 4 Champions Leagues, to his name, was 3 years into being Barcelona's all-time leading goal scorer, and had already totaled a staggering 83 Champions League goals. Unlike Ronaldo, who, at the same age, had only 1 Ballon d'Or and Champions League each to his name, with a comparatively modest 50 Champions League goals and only 2 major trophies in 4.5 years at Madrid. However, when the pair passed the big 3-0, this pretty much flipped on his head, cause when Messi was 34, he was 11 years removed from his last goal at a Champions League final and heavily struggled in a poor first season in Ligue 1, netting only 6 times. In contrast, when Ronaldo was 34, he scored over 3 times as many goals in his first season in Serie A, a league that is statistically a lot harder to score in, had surpassed Messi's UCL trophies tally, and was still single-handedly winning games in that great competition. Similarly, by the time Messi was 36, he'd already moved to Inter Miami in the MLS, whereas Ronaldo, in the same age/slightly older, won the Serie A Golden Boot, returned to Manchester United, scored 18 goals in the Premier League, and registered almost a goal a game in the Champions League, not to mention topping Messi's individual tally in the competition, and doing so by a landslide. So yeah, while a quick overall view would suggest a parallel career path, in reality it was a case of one having a relative meteoric rise due to superior natural talent and team setups, while the other catching up at an older age due to unrivaled perseverance as well as the ability to adapt to any and every environment. And that, my friends, is certainly not a myth. Number 1, arrogance versus humility. One of the oldest myths in the book, one that probably began before Messi even turned pro, which is still bafflingly prevalent as both men are no longer even playing at the top level. So we've already spoken about Messi not exactly being a squeaky clean model citizen in a previous video. Please go watch it. But that was more centered around him not being the perfect human being that his little glee club portray him to be. But this will be more concerned with his arrogance and self-righteousness on the pitch. So we have reports about him casually getting the ball from the keeper and running past everyone and scoring when a decision doesn't go his way in training, which to be honest is kind of badass, but yeah, arrogant as fuck. Doing that walk off the stadium after tearing up Real Madrid, you really think he doesn't know what he's doing here? Looking like he was forced to watch his wife enter his credit card pin after shopping for her birthday when the 2015 Ballon d'Or was about to be announced. Is this really the face of someone who doesn't care? Verbally tearing the opposition to shreds using some disgusting language, and at times even continuing such tirade after the game, using his name and demanding they be booked at times when they foul him, sometimes even fouling them back to extract revenge. And yes, many many more. Now, if you're expecting me to defend Ronaldo being arrogant, well, sorry to disappoint you, but I can't. They're both super talented multimillionaires who are full of themselves. The difference? One just happens to wear his heart on his sleeve. And no, believe me, the arrogance does not mean either of them are bad people. In fact, their success, especially Ronaldo's, is partly due to that crazy self-belief, increments of which may stem from arrogance. And you know what? As long as you can back it up, which they obviously can, more power to you, brothers. More power to you. And that is that. Were there any myths in this list that you already had debunked? Have I in fact missed any out? Let me know in the comments below. And as usual, please like, share and subscribe. Till next time, keep rolling.